Yo, what's going on, guys? So we're doing a different type of video today, and I wanted to go over a sort of discussion about every hero and villain in Star Wars Battlefront 1, because normally you don't, there are some videos, about like Battlefront 2 and how good each character is, but usually they don't really go too in depth why they're so good. They usually just go into quick overviews as to like, where their placement is in the meta. Now I ain't gonna go super in depth of every character. I'm just going to be explaining why each hero and villain is good, or why they might be potentially bad. And we're gonna start out with the bad characters, because I just find that to be easier. So, we're gonna start out with Greedo. Alright. Some people think that Greedo is like he has the potential to be good, but here's the thing. Greedo is the worst character in the game. He is worse than Ainam, he's worse than Jin, he's worse than everybody. His abilities are not that good. His Dioxis, or his Confidence Grenade, only gets good at max trait, which is ultimately Greedo's biggest problem, is his trait. If he is not at trait 3, Greedo is completely fucking garbage. I'm sorry. He's just a bad character. He's literally a worse version of Han Solo. I could go as far as saying that he is Han Solo, but without Han Solo's tools, or his damage. You might be thinking to yourself, but with his damage, but Greedo does fuck tons of damage at max confidence when he gets the max confidence, and even then, I have completely annihilated Greedo with Han Solo, with Chewie, and with Lando. He gets completely destroyed by the top damage dealers in Battlefront, and he gets completely destroyed by soldiers. As a hero and a villain, you consistently have to worry about people coming up to you with EE4s, which will do significant amounts of damage. The EE4 is overpowered. It's not broken. It's a fucking overpowered weapon that can completely shred heroes and villains, because the only villain in this game, or only character in this game that has any amount of sustain is Bosk. No other character has that, except if we're talking about HVV, where people pick up board healths, or Emperor Leia can give you health. Outside of that, you ain't getting shit. Greedo has to completely rely on high senses throughout the whole game, and even then, his ability to fight you is completely based on how big his trait is. If you have 0 trait, he isn't fucking fighting shit. You can chip him, deal massive damage with any other hero, like Leia can just trooper band him across the map and heal. Han Solo can just lucky shot him or just get in his face right away with rapid fire, dead. Luke Skywalker can just force push, run the fuck away, just chip him throughout the game. Nyan can just play the chasing game and keep putting up bombs everywhere, pulse cannon him once, and then just gun him down and he's dead. Lando, all you have to do is just power blast, cancel Greedo, and he's going to die, like 90% of the time. Chewie just walks at Greedo and he's dead, unless his whole team is helping him. If his whole team isn't helping him, he's dead, and even then he's taking massive amounts of damage. Fucking even Jin, to some extent, if you get armor broken, Jin is killing Greedo, or dealing massive amounts of damage. He's just not worth playing over the other characters in the game. He's just not. Like, what does Greedo have over Dengar? And I think Dengar is not that good either. But at the very least, like, Dengar has good abilities right off the bat. He doesn't have to hit trait 3 for his main damage to get online. Because his other form of damage and precision shot is shit. No one ever used precision shot. The only time a Greedo will use Precision Shot is when you are directly behind somebody and you are guaranteed to hit it without, like, being punished super hard. No, there's not going to be a Greedo who even at trait 3 isn't going to use Precision Shot unless the person you're fighting has 0 aim or is using any of his abilities. Outside of that, the move is probably the most unsafe move in the game. His regular confidence thing is completely garbage as well, because it's only, like I said, is only good at trait 3. Otherwise, it does no fucking damage. It's okay versus soldiers, but if you're playing the larger modes, what's gonna make you might as well just play fucking Bosk. Because if you're sitting on the objective, their team is just going to spawn on top of you all game. And Greedo's just going to get overwhelmed and just gunned down in 2 seconds. So why not just play Bosk? Or Boba? Or Krennic? Or just any other character? He's useless. Don't play him. If you want to play like a high-risk, high-reward character, play fucking Orson. And I'm gonna discuss Orson later because I feel like that Orson is he is his own character to discuss. But Greedo sucks. Play Bosk. Play Boba. Don't play this character. Avoid Greedo at all costs. The only time you want to play Greedo is when you're in like a massive ass party, and even then, I would avoid playing this character unless you're trying to have fun. If you're trying to win, never, ever, 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 ever play this character. Super unsafe. His damage is negligible. His trait really doesn't do anything. And his ability to tank damage is almost non-existent. You're just better off playing Bosk. Dengar. This one kind of irks me a bit because I love Dengar. He used to be my favorite character. Still is my favorite character. Those who played this game back in the day when he first came out might remember he used to one-shot Luke, used to completely tear apart heroes with his mines and shit. Now that he's been, like, nerfed, I think 3 times, he's been toned down a fuck ton. His days of being able to box Chewie and fight him head-to-head even with his Mighty War-Up those days are over. Unfortunately, Dengar is not that good by himself. He just is not. He loses way too many characters in this game. And too many characters counter him with certain abilities. Like Luke completely counters him if he's by himself. Like in 1v1, what can Dengar do? You use your mines, your Hurricane Strike, and then what? Then what? You can't really shoot at him. He's just going to blaster deflect all that shit back at you. Or better yet, if you Hurricane Strike wrong, he'll just heavy strike you against a wall and just spams you to death and you're dead. You can do something to Han Solo, I guess, but that's only if you're in close range. Even then, you have to play extremely safe. If you make one misplay versus a good Han Solo as Dengar, you're going to be losing a lot of health. He does somewhat well against Leia, but the second the honor guards come up, you're getting shredded. Lando, that's not even like a question. He does shred 9 them, but if you want to shred 9 them, you could always play Boba Fett or Bosk. It is true that like you can Hurricane Strike him against a wall, or you can use your mines to slow him down. But you shouldn't be picking this character specifically for 9 them, because 9 them can still play the looping game versus Dengar. Even like people who play really well versus Dengar, if the 9 them that you're chasing knows what he's doing and does the looping game correctly, unless if he makes a misplay, you're not catching him usually. Unless your name is Bosk, you are not catching a good 9 them who knows how to do the looping game correctly. So that's kind of like out of the table. Right? Lando, if Lando knows that you're coming, he disrupts you and then power blasts you to death and you die. Or worse yet, he puts his trap down before you use any of your abilities, and then you go to use an ability, and then you get stunned in place, and then you die. And Chewie destroys everybody in the game. I guess you can make an argument he can 1v1 Jin, but why are you picking a character to 1v1 Jin? He isn't all bad, though, right? Dengar does have advantages on certain maps, like Rebel Base. His mines can be really good. And in certain, like, really cornered areas, like Imperial Station, Imperial Hangar, and those really crowded hallways, you can probably make him work. But in, like, really open maps, this character sucks. Like, he sucks real bad. Like, if you try to bring this guy on Twilight of Hoth, or even Ice Caves, don't really expect to do too well unless you have, like a good team carrying you. Because while, yeah, he does have trait to up his armor, that really only goes so far, honestly. In fact, the only time that I would ever use Dengar is if there's an Emperor and a Vader on the team. Deadass. There is, like, a gimmick team that people like to use with Vader, Dengar, Orson. But even that team, I feel, isn't that good. Because if the other team decides to bring ion grenades, you're screwed. The other team decides to bring, what, like Chewie, Luke, Lando, you can still get fucked pretty badly if Lando disrupts Orson before he can use any of his abilities. Or if the whole team gets disrupted in general, I think you just lose the game. Pretty much. You won't be able to use your armor. You won't be able to put up your droid. Dengar, without his abilities, is completely shit, especially when he's at no trait. So, if you want to use him, I say that you only use him when Emperor and Vader are on the field. Or if you have, like, an extremely good team and you know you can win. Otherwise, I would not pick this character. He's just way too unsafe without his abilities up. Even with his abilities up, he just doesn't really cut it versus characters like Luke and Chewie. They just do way too much work versus him. And Lando on certain maps just completely obliterates him. You can completely shred a Dengar from a distance without even when he comes close, you can just disrupt him and he's dead. So I don't think he's really that good. It's a shame because I really like Dengar, but I just don't see why I would pick him when there are other options available. Like, if I want to play a tanky character, I'll play Vader, which I'll get into shortly. Krennic. So, the thing about Krennic is that he can be very, very, very good in the other modes. If you are able to sit across the map, like on Walker Assault, and armor break the whole game, he is probably the second best character in the game, if not the best. When he's put in those situations where he has to fight multiple opponents at the same time, and he has to rely on his team, things can get a bit iffy. Krennic is one of those characters that has, like, a high risk, high reward kind of thing. You have to make risky, all-in plays with this character. He works kind of the same way as Han Solo, but a bit different. If you are in comms and you play this character and you have a good team that communicates well, that calls out things that need to be called out and makes good plays, this character will usually do very well. The problem is, if you're going against a team that knows you're going to pick Orson, or has experience against Orson, and they prepare against him, he becomes significantly weaker. The problem with Orson is centered completely around his weapon. A lot of the times you have to completely rely on Armor Breaker, because his base weapon is shit. It is probably the worst hero weapon in the game, period. I'd say it's worse than Greedo's, because at least with, like, Greedo, you will not, like, overheat, like, ever which is DT12. This thing, you get 6 shots. If you miss any of them, you're screwed. And it's just, there's no reason to use the primary fire, because what happens is if you armor break somebody, right, you gotta reload, and then if you want to change to the primary fire, you gotta reload again, and then you could use it. That's like, what, 8 or 10 seconds of you sitting there out of the fight not doing anything. 8 or 10 seconds can be huge in team fights. That's very huge. And in those 8 or 10 seconds, you want to be doing damage with your gun. You want to be shooting people. You don't want to be sitting there in your droid or running away or hiding behind a corner reloading your fucking gun. That's the biggest problem with this character. And he suffers probably the worst case of ability syndrome in the game. Now, what is ability syndrome? It's when a character relies on their abilities, and when their abilities are on cooldown, they are pretty much sitting ducks, right? Now, you could argue that every character suffers from this, but that's not true, because some characters have really good abilities with short cooldowns. Or Lando, who does have mid-range cooldowns, but at least with Lando, he has a few things going for him, and he has way, way better tools than Orson. Orson has good tools, but his cooldowns kill him. His cooldowns absolutely kill him. Wrath of the Empire, which is by far his best ability, I think has like a 30 to 35 second cooldown. That's huge in HVV, since each match is only 3 minutes long. 30 seconds is pretty big. Like, his cooldown is just as big as Mighty War's. But with Mighty War, it's not just you become tankier. Mighty War increases the damage of you and the whole team. Orson, it increases the HP and the armor, which is extremely good. The problem is, Chewie has an extremely OP weapon that insta-kills people. Orson, you can armor break people, which makes people more vulnerable to damage, but he's not a damage-dealing character. And even then, if you go against a team that's using a lot of healing, has a lot of ion shit, Orson's going to be struggling hard, and you are going to be feeling, you're going to be feeling the pressure throughout the whole match if people start bringing ion grenades and shit. Once they start one-shotting that droid, I think it's over, honestly, because you are going to be relying on your droid pretty heavily, because you got to hit a soldier. If you don't kill them, if they have back or whatever, you have to reload, come back in, or have your teammate shoot at them. You know what I mean? He relies so heavily on that droid, and so heavily on Wrath of the Empire. Once those two abilities are gone, you catch him with his pants down, he's dead. He's just dead. There's nothing you can do about it. He's the definition of a 50-50 character. When he's in his element, things will go. He feels like the best character in the game, and he feels fucking unkillable. But when he's out of his element, he feels like playing Greedo. Or like a worse version of Greedo. But that said, he's still a good character in some respects. It's just, if you don't play him right, or you don't have a good team, or you go against a team that is prepared to deal with Orson, you're going to be struggling a lot with him. So I would only really play this character when you're on comms with your friends, or like a party group. Other than that, I would not play Orson. He's just way too high maintenance, and he just needs way too much support, and it's way too easy to exploit his flaws once his tools have been used. So, yeah, there's my piece on that. Emperor. So, some might be thinking, you're rating Emperor Palpatine worse than Boba Fett. Why is that? Well, I'll get to that in a second. Palpatine in HVV and in Hero Hunt, he's he's the definition of a 50-50 character. He either completely stomps or gets stomped, right? I feel like that Palpatine is all about the map, right? Palpatine on Imperial Station is a monster. He is a monster. You feel like a god when you play Sidious on that map. Being able to use the windows, being able to jump and just get out, and they can't do shit. Being able to use the balconies effectively. Just being able to use the entire map and the environment to your advantage. And being able to jump in and out of cover and on the balconies and just escape extremely quickly. That is when Palpatine is in his element, right? When he's able to go in, gank people, get out, stun Luke, fuck with him, waste his time, kill a bunch of soldiers, heal, do his thing, right? That's kind of his thing. The problem with Palpatine, I find, usually, is when you're able to get enough distance on him to where he has to dash, he's kind of fucked, right? You will usually find that if you are being ganked and there's a Palpatine, it feels like you can't really do shit. And that's because that it's extremely hard to fight the Emperor when it's like a 2v1. I'd say it's almost impossible, unless if you're like max trait Chewbacca. That's like the only character that really stands a chance against and even then, that's not guaranteed, I feel. Because things still can go wrong, even when you're max trait Chewbacca. But back to the point, after playing a lot of Han Solo, and playing a lot of Lando, and playing a lot of Emperor myself, I can conclude that his biggest problem is getting into the fight, right? People who have a brain are going to try and zone the Emperor and prevent him from going in, right? Because usually once he gets in, he's usually okay, right? He's usually in a good position. It's the getting in that's usually the problem. You have to worry about Leia and her honor guards. You have to worry about, oh shit, is this Han Solo going to have more health than me and his ability is going to be up? Oh shit, what trait is this Lando at? And does he still have his fucking shocking trap and if he has his abilities up and you misplay versus a good Lando, Emperor's usually screwed. Chewie, does he have Mighty War? If not, this is a free kill. If he does, I'm going to have to run, or I'm screwed. Luke, if he has his force push up and he catches me off guard, it's going to be an issue for him. I think Luke especially can be like the biggest issue for the Emperor, just because Luke can consistently prevent Palpatine from going in. You can just force push him over and over. Yeah, you could chain lightning him, but the thing is, the force push is always going to be able to do consistently more damage. And if his team is shooting at you, you're consistently going to be taking more damage than the Luke, right? That's going to be the issue. Yes, you could heal, but really, really, really smart Lukes are going to try and bait your abilities. They're going to try and bait your dashes. They're going to try and bait you into fighting a fight that you can't fight, right? They're going to bait you into fighting his teammates. They're going to, if Palpatine is kind of caught in that situation where he can't run away, he's kind of screwed. But the thing is that usually that situation doesn't happen if you play smart. If you're able to stick with your team, if you're able to gank correctly, if you're able to get in, then usually people are going to find it extremely difficult to fight the Emperor. Usually, like a really good Emperor, and it's not just all about jumping up and down and using your lightning. If you go against an Emperor that knows how to use his dash, knows how to use the super jump in a confusing way, plays in a defensive way when he needs to block everything and then get out and then come back in, you are going to start feeling the pressure, like, really hard. And that is to say, like, I don't think Palpatine is that good of a pressure character, because his whole pressure is him in a team fight. He only really is able to pressure in a 1v1 when you're at low health and when he's at full and his team. And even then, if it's like, is his honor guard going to be there? Is soldier going to come up behind me? That's the whole pressure in the mind game, quote unquote. His whole pressure is the team fight. It's not like Lando where the pressure is, oh shit, he could be on this side of the map. It's not like that, right? He's not that type of pressure character. His pressure is way, way different. That being said, I still think he's a really good character. His ability to heal his teammates, the fact that his team fight is so good. Stunning Luke will always be a valuable asset to his kit. I think that's probably the best part of his kit, is to make sure that Luke can't run or jump in himself. Because Palpatine he isn't just an offensive character. You can play him defensively and make him work. But I think I've said my 2 cents on him. Or otherwise, I could talk all day about how you can pressure people with this character, and this video will be way longer than it should be. Boba Fett. So, I know there's going to be some people like, oh, why, you fucking stupid, Boba Fett's trash, he's garbage. Those people don't go against or play with the Boba Fett players that I play with. The highest level Boba Fett players can completely obliterate your whole team. Completely. Now, yes, if you're dumb, you're gonna get power blasted, trooper baned, you name it, the whole game. And he's gonna get bullied by Luke. And yeah, if you play him that way, he's just a worse version of Palpatine. If you play him correctly, if you know exactly how much jetpack fuel he's gonna have at each trait level, if you know exactly how much damage you're going to do, if you know how to move with him, if you know how good he is on certain maps, and you take advantage of that, if you know just how good his 1v1 potential can be, and how even better his team fight can be, he might have the potential to be the best character in the game, just simply because how much pressure he puts on you. Like, I've gone against Boba Fett's where I feel like that I can't hit him. That he'll just peek his head in and deal 15 damage, and then just fly the fuck away or fly behind cover, and you can't do shit. I swear to fucking God. This character can be extremely insane. 100% of that has to do with the fact that this character has probably the best movement in the game besides Skywalker. By far the best movement in the game. And he doesn't even have like that broken of damage either. His damage is pretty like in the middle, right? His damage is kind of there with like Leia or Dengar's. But it's just his jetpack, if you're able to move effectively, if you hit a lot of your shots, if you move in a way that makes it difficult for you as the opponent to hit him, that is when he becomes a very frustrating pressure character. And when he ganks, good luck fighting a good Boba Fett. Because while you're trying to shoot a good Boba Fett in the air and he's juking you out, he can have one of his teammates come up behind you and start lighting you up. So now you gotta ignore this character who's just shredding you, and you gotta fight this other guy who could be a Darth Vader. And he just kicks your ass. And you can't do shit to Vader because he's tanky as fuck. He'll just block all your shit while his Boba Fett's behind him. You can't hit him because he's doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? When you go against good Boba Fett players who know how to play him and know how to pressure, he's up there. Definitely. The only reason why I don't think he's the best character in the game is because 99% of the players who play this game don't play Boba Fett that way. They play him like they play, like, a Emperor, right? Like a team fight pressure character, and that's not, you're not supposed to play him that way. He's a really, really hard character to master as well, because you have to know all these things beforehand before you can even do anything with him. You need to have a fuck ton of matchup experience. You have to know the maps. You have to know his trait. You have to know everything about this character. You have to know him inside and out before you can even touch him. And even then, his flaws are still exploitable. Like, Lando can still shut off his shit in this Force and use all of his jetpack fuel. You could still be sniped across the map with Power Blast and Lucky Shot and shit. Luke still bullies the fuck out of him, for the most part. Really good Lukes will bully a Boba Fett. No matter if they're like the best Boba Fett in the world or not, you can bully a good Boba Fett if you're a good enough Luke. Deadass. I've seen it happen. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Ivan Darth get fucking destroyed by Allegiant Spirals. That's the only reason why he's not like a god tier character, is because he still has some counters, and there's still some ways to fight him. But once you get into that game and face that Boba Fett who's like god level, you'll see what I'm talking about. I think it's time that we talk about Big Daddy Vader. Most people think that he is the best, if not the most consistent character in HVV, which I will definitely have to agree with. He is definitely the most consistent character. No matter if it's like a bad player or a good... I mean, there is a difference between a bad Vader and a good Vader, right? But for the most part, the execution of what you're trying to do is usually overall the same, if that makes sense. You are trying to get into your opponent's face and just spam the fuck out of them. Or just sit there, zone them, and then just get in their face, maybe hit a heavy strike, and then they're dead. He is by far probably the tankiest character in the game, which allows him to just do his thing, which is amazing. He's able to pressure, he completely destroys characters like Han Solo, destroys Lando up close. Like, if you catch a Lando off guard, he is dead. You catch a Leia off guard, she is dead. You catch Nyanum off guard, he is dead. If you catch the vast majority of the cast off guard, they either have to run away as soon as possible, or they die. Same goes for Luke. If you catch Luke off guard, you can just fucking kill him like that in 5 seconds. Just pin him into a corner, heavy strike him, and even if he blocks it, he's just sitting there eating shit for like 3 seconds. And if he doesn't have his dash, he's gonna take a fuck ton of damage, whether if it's from you or from his teammates. And yeah, there is a bunch of ways that you can interrupt the heavy strike. Shoulder charge interrupts it. Luke can interrupt it in a bunch of ways. Ground slam interrupts it. Lucky shot interrupts it. Power blast interrupts it. His shocking trap interrupts it. I think Jin can also interrupt it. Even though that there's a bunch of ways to interrupt the heavy strike, if you get hit by this move, like if you eat this fucking move, you are usually like dead, I'd say. Or half of your health is gone. For Luke, that stagger could mean the game for you. Deadass, I think that it is GG if you get hit by that. I don't think I really need to talk about Saber Throw and Force Choke. You guys know what those abilities do. Force Chokes you as a soldier, you're dead. Acts as a good ship versus heroes. Stuns Luke, good ship. Saber Throw, probably the best move in the game, or one of. Just the fact that you throw it and then it staggers them backwards, and there's a slowdown to it, and that slowdown is guaranteed, no matter which character you are. Excellent move. Guaranteed like 20 damage per hit. Guaranteed to either stagger or stun Luke. Excellent ability. Yeah, there's not really much I need to say about him. He's a very straightforward character. He pretty much only does two things. He defends his team, and he goes all in and spams you to death. And he does those two things extremely well. But the character I'm about to talk about next, I think, is better than Vader. And has a lot more versatility. That character is Bosk. Probably the best. Actually, that is undisputed the best character in the game. By far. He's better than Lando. He's better than Chewie. He's better than everybody. All that has to do with the combination of the tools he has. For the same reason why Lando, I think, is overpowered, I think Bosk is overpowered just simply because of the tools he is given. One, he has the best trait in the game. He's the only character who can sustain himself without needing board helps or other characters to heal him. And he's also the only character who can heal himself in larger modes. Not counting Wrath of the Empire, because that's basically just back the bomb. He could literally go into a spawn at trait 3, kill your whole team on Walker Assault, and he feels like he's an invincible. In HVV, he functions a bit different, because you need to be a bit more skillful, because Han Solo can still rapid fire him and kill him. You could still get, all that stuff. What makes Bosk so oppressive is his abilities and his trait, and just all these things that combine that make him into such an oppressive character. So he has the best trait in the game. But he's also the fastest character in the game, not counting max trait Luke. In fact, I think he's actually faster than base trait Luke, with Predator Instincts on. So, he has the best trait in the game, and he has the best speed in the game. Toxic Escape, which is an ability where he's able to jump, which, by the way, there's a super jump where he can jump further if you do it right. And he has a gas that does massive amounts of damage as long as he's sitting in it. And it heals him. And it gives him trait. Massive amounts of trait. Very quickly. It's a common tactic for boss players to go into the fight with Toxic Escape. Despite what Toxic Escape says, that you're using it as an escape, a lot of players are going to use it to initiate in a fight. Whether if it's like a super jump behind you, whether if it's the backup behind Vader and initiate that way, or just to put it down behind a wall and back up. This ability has massive amounts of use, despite how simple it may look. Predator Instincts. Probably the best ability in the game. By far. It increases his cooldowns, decreases his cooldowns, increases his damage, and I'm pretty sure it also increases the rate he gains trait, and he also becomes the fastest character in the game. Best ability in the game, based on the amount of buffs he gets. It is probably as good as Insight for Rey. Micro grenades, basically it turns your fucking gun into a grenade launcher. And you're just able to just fucking destroy people with it in close range. If you have, trait 2 or max trait, and you go into a fight with micro grenades, and there isn't, Mighty War, or you aren't disrupted, or anything like that, Bosk is usually either going to do massive amounts of damage, or he's going to kill your whole team. If not kill a hero. Right? And this would make you think, oh, he's an up-close character. he isn't just an up-close character, because this character can just fucking cross-map you. And believe me, you can literally just peek your head out, shoot a hero once or twice, and go back in the cover. And just keep trying to bait lucky shot and all that bullshit. And you will win. You can keep doing that until you are at max trait, and they can't do shit. Even if they hit you with a lucky shot, Bosk is going to continuously gain more and more health until, and once he's at max trait, he's just going to outbox you because he's regenerating so much fucking health. So, he can beat most characters in the long range. He can beat most characters in close range. He's probably the safest character in the game, thanks to his speed and his toxic shape. So what are his flaws? The only flaw that this character has is that it makes people play stupid. He deadass makes people play stupid. Smart Bosks are probably the most annoying thing to ever deal with. He can potentially be worse than a Boba Fett player if you play him right. If you go against a really good boss player, you will notice that they will play safe under any circumstance. But they know how to pressure you in a way to just keep poking you and poking you and poking you and poking you and just annoying you until the point you make a mistake. That's why this character is so good. He's kind of like Lando in that sense. He will pretty much poke you until you make a misplay or outpositioned, and then he kills you. That is his whole game. He will continuously poke, and even if you try to get in his face, he's the fastest character in the game. He'll just pop Toxic Escape and run the fuck away, and you aren't catching him. Unless if the boss is dumb as shit. That's the only way that you're catching him, is if he's dumb as shit or you're in an open-ass map. And even then, very good boss players know, like, the fucking dead zones of really big maps. So, yeah, this character is extremely annoying to fight if you go against a really good player who knows how to use them. By far. If you play Bosk, or you played a Bosk that plays in that way, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Character is insanely good. If you want to play a good character and be consistent, or a character that in the long run will basically carry you, play Bosk. Play him and only him, and you will see the results pretty quickly once you realize just how much potential this character has, and how good he becomes once he reaches that potential. He's not like Greedo, who's dead weight until he hits trait 3. Because even if he does hit trait 3, he could still fucking get shredded. Bosk, he hits trait 3, and he plays correctly, you're not killing him. You're not killing him. He will out-sustain you, and even if he can't out-sustain you, he'll just fucking Toxic Escape and get out. While his Darth Vader is still wailing on one of your teammates, and then he could always just come back. Right? He's not like Palpatine, who has like a dash, and he has to wait for it to come. No. He can just come back immediately and start pressuring you. Just because he's that fast. He can get out and immediately come back once you have his back turned on him and you die. That's just how good he is. And pretty much, I'd argue that the entire meta is centered around this character. By far. By far the best character in the game. If you're going to play any character on Dark Side, play him. For sure. Play him.